Daf Yomi Tractate Bava Batra, page 45a. Top of the page with the words Id Isle Ara Akwiti. If this is a case where the seller has other land that he did not sell in addition to the field that he sold with regard to which he currently wishes to testify, his creditor will go after it and collect from that land. In that case, he is not biased in his testimony concerning the field that he sold. If this is a case where the seller does not have the other land, what difference does it make to him if the buyer is unable to keep the land? In any event, the creditor cannot collect directly from the seller. The Gemara answers, actually, Shmuel is referring to a case where the seller does not have other land, and the reason that he is nevertheless biased, his testimony is that he wants his creditors to be able to collect the debt because he says to himself that it is uncomfortable for him to be in the category of the wicked borrows and pays not. Psalms 37:21. The Gemara asks, but ultimately he is also in the category of the wicked borrows and pays not. Psalms 37:21, with regard to the other one to whom he sold land, he took money from the buyer who did not receive anything in exchange, as the land was seized from him. The Gemara answers, he is not concerned about his behavior toward the buyer, as he can say to him, for this very reason I sold it to you without a guarantee, so that if it would be seized from you, I would not be liable. The Gemara relates, Rava announced, and some say it was Rav Papa who announced, all those who ascend from Babylonia to Eretz Yisrael, and all those who descend from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia should be aware of the following. In a case of this Jew who sold a donkey to another Jew, and then a Gentile came and seized it from him, claiming that it was really his, the halakha is that the seller should rescue it from the Gentile or reimburse the buyer. The Gemara points out, and we said this halakha only in a case where the buyer does not recognize that this is the offspring of the seller's donkey, and it is possible that the Gentile's claim is true. But if the buyer recognizes that this is the offspring of the seller's donkey, then the seller is not liable to reimburse him. It is clear that the Gentile's claim is false, so the seller bears no responsibility for the buyer's loss. And furthermore, we said this halakha only in a case where the Gentile did not seize it and the saddle with it. But if he seized it and the saddle with it, it is clear that the Gentile is a robber, and it is assumed that there's no validity to his claim with regard to the donkey. Therefore, the seller is not liable to reimburse him. And Maimar said, even if there are not any of these factors, the seller is not liable to reimburse him. Whereas the reasoning for this, it is that it is known that an ordinary Gentile is an extortionist. Okay, again, disclaimer, I'm reading the Talmud, I'm not making any truth claims for myself, any agreement necessarily with it. When they make a blanket statement like a Gentile can't be trusted, it's definitely racist, but maybe they had good reason for saying that at that time. Maybe at their time most Gentiles were extortionists from Jews. It's possible. But all it is to say is that I'm saying that I'm not saying this of myself. I'm reading what they're saying. That being said, let's continue. So it's assumed that the donkey is indeed belongs to the seller, as it is stated, whose mouth speaks falsehood and their right hand is a right hand of lying. Psalms 144, verse 8. The Gemara returns to discuss the statement of Shmuel 42b. The craftsman does not have the ability to establish the presumption of ownership of property in his possession, but a partner has the liability to establish the presumption of ownership. Bava says they taught this only in a case where the owner transferred the item to the craftsman in the presence of witnesses, but if the owner transferred the item to the craftsman not in the presence of witnesses, then since the craftsman is able to say to the one who claims to the owner, these matters never occurred. In other words, you did not give me this item, but it was mine to begin with, and he would keep possession of the item with that claim. But even when the craftsman says to him, it is purchased by me from you, and that is why it is in my possession, it is deemed credible. Abai said to Rabbah, if so, then even if the owner transferred the item to the craftsman in the presence of witnesses as well, he should be deemed credible, since the craftsman is able to say to the owner, I return the item to you, and he would be exempt from payment when the craftsman says to him, it is purchased from me by you, and that is why it is in my possession. He is deemed credible. Amrle Rabbah Misavart. Rabbah said to Abaya, Mi Savart, do you maintain? That's the end of Amud 1.